Hello, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are doing well. How is it going? How are you guys doing? Are you able to resist the gang stalking? I hope that you guys are uplifted, that you're in a good mood, that you're in the spirit of actually resisting all of these attacks. All right, so I know I haven't talked to you guys in a while, and I want to talk about a really interesting topic. This video is not going to be too long. I'm going to try to make it short. Basically, what I want to talk about in this video is oftentimes a lot of targeted individuals in their attacks. You might be dealing with electronic harassment. You might be dealing with actual street stalking and harassment. You might be dealing with patterns. You might be dealing with all sorts of weird things. But in many cases, you're going to be dealing with verbal abuse. You're going to be dealing with verbal types of harassment. And what I want to talk about in this video is basically what is the reason behind the verbal abuse? Or I should say, what is the purpose of this verbal abuse? Well, if you look it up, you can do some research about this, but you might ask the question, why does anybody abuse anybody verbally? Well, in most cases, the purpose of verbal abuse, why verbal abuse would be used against somebody, is in order to threaten them, to intimidate them, to scare them, with the purpose of asserting dominance and control over them, basically to make them submissive to one's will. So basically to force them to obey some kind of orders or to be, for them to yield, as in to give in, to allow this abusive person to get away with something, or to to make you more, soften you up and make you more willing to obey or be submissive to somebody. I talked about this in multiple videos. I talked about how gang stalking involves a lot of psychological control, which is, of course, a lot of it involves threats and scaremongering and fear and that kind of stuff to control people. Psychological control, I mentioned. Now, so why they would use verbal abuse is basically they're trying to, from a psychological perspective, they're trying to lower your self-esteem. They use these trigger words. A lot of it in terms of narcissistic abuse is called anchoring. So they're trying to use a lot of trigger words, insults, put downs to bring down your ego, to bring down your self-esteem and make you accept certain standards which are, well, below your standard, to accept certain things which are below your standard. I'm gonna give you an example. So when I was in the hospital in France, I met a girl who was in a bit of a dire situation. I think she might have been a targeted individual. I am not so sure about this, but she had been, well, what happened to her was she was being abused. There was somebody in her life who had abused her. He raped her. She was raped and also verbally assaulted and verbally attacked, verbally abused. And then she started doing drugs. She became a junkie. And later on, this led to her being trafficked, as she put it herself, as she told me. She said that this guy trafficked my brain. So that's something that an abusive person would do because they have an agenda for you. They have a motivation or some kind of intention, a bad intention for you. And they use language as a weapon. Verbal abuse is used with some kind of purpose, with an intention. It is not just people, don't think of it as just people being nasty towards you or abusing you just like that. No, there's actually an intention or a purpose behind it. There's something that they're trying to build up towards. So in this case, the woman was basically being trafficked. She was being sex trafficked. So she was raped by this guy. The rape and the verbal abuse was used as a weapon to lower her defenses, and the drugs as well, to lower her defenses and resistance so that she could be abused even further and sex trafficked and pretty much used as a sex slave, right? So when you think about this from the perspective of gang stalking, it is a lot like that. I mean, it may not necessarily be something that has to do with trafficking or sex trafficking, although it might. I also talked about that in a previous video. But generally, the purpose would be to coerce you or to control you. So the verbal abuse is used in such a way to control you and coerce you into doing certain things that you would not otherwise be willing to do. Whether they're trying to get you to commit criminal activities, or whether they're trying to traffic you or sex traffic you or whatever it is generally to assert some kind of dominance and control over your life and to get you to accept certain things which are below your standard. Because if your self-esteem is damaged, you will think lowly of yourself and you'll be much more willing to accept abuse or accept some mistreatment or something which is negative for you and positive for the abusive person. So, of course, like I mentioned, this example of the girl who is being sex trafficked, this happens quite a lot, actually. Some gangster or mobster or criminal might rape a woman and abuse her and, give her drugs or make sure that she becomes a junkie. That way she can be further exploited sexually. For example, she might become dependent on this criminal for drugs, and one way for her to get those drugs would be to give sexual favors, right? And because she was already raped or bad things already happened to her, she might just say, well, you know what? I was already raped and my self-esteem is already low, so I might as well do it because I feel that I am worthless or whatever, right? Of course, gang stalking involves a lot of attacks on your ego, attacks on your self-esteem, trying to bring you down, trying to lower your self-esteem, trying to lower your psychological resistance, damaging you psychologically. This is quite common in the gang stalking. So you guys, this is why I say that this is a lot like a spiritual / psychological battle. You have to fight psychologically. You have to make sure that you're always in a good mood and that you're able to resist all these attacks and that kind of stuff. So, it might be that you were at some point humiliated by the gang stalkers, or you feel that your dignity has been lost, or that your dignity has been taken away from you, but that's not a reason for you to lower yourself and allow these people to abuse you further or to do anything further to you. Keep your boundaries, about you. Keep your boundaries. Don't let anybody in unless they prove themselves to be worthy of your attention or respect. So be careful what you do, right? So yeah, that's basically what I'm talking about. This is it's all about the verbal abuse is basically just about psychological control, and just be careful because it could be leading towards something. They could be trying to make you into a criminal. They could be trying to make you into a prostitute if you're a woman. They could be doing a lot of things. Don't think that this verbal abuse that you're being targeted with is just for the sake of abusing you or for entertainment, which it might be, but it may also have another purpose. It may be trying to lead you in a certain direction. So be very, very careful about this, and always have your wits about you, and always have the courage and the keep your energies up, keep your psychology as healthy as possible, so that you can resist and defend yourself against these things. Anyway, guys, I hope this was useful to you guys, and if you like this content, like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.